Until recently, Paramount had a long and storied, glorious history, something that many moguls would be proud to have. And, well, there was a mogul that was very proud of that indeed. A man who built up a corporation that, well, became many different things, and ultimately National Amusements owned all of them, even after a split between Viacom and CBS, only to be recombined once again just as he left the earth. Unfortunately, his successor was a daughter who maybe doesn't want to do it anymore. And so, you're at the precipice of a fire sale. And fuel just got added. On that note, let's jump into the story real quick. But first, a reminder, I do sponsor myself, so go check out beachpunk.us. And if you're not a current subscriber of the channel, look down below and make sure you can turn that red subscribe button to gray. If it's gray already, thanks for subscribing. And for those of you that are members, be on the lookout for a member stream coming up this weekend. On that note, and as Punkwaddle finishes the commercial down here, let's dive right in, because Paramount Studios wasn't for sale going back to December 12th of 2023, although I had actually heard differently going all the way back to October of last year. And it was rumored before that in August of 2023, and so on and so on. There have always been thoughts about selling off some pieces, but the biggest piece of all, and by far the most valuable piece of Paramount Global, is Paramount Studios. So, you can take control of it back then, at least that was a concept or a conversation from the author Tony Maglio over at IndieWire, but it slowly progressed to the beginning of this year, which was when we started talking about an actual sale of Paramount. Why would Shari want to sell off her father's company? And why does she need the right deal? These are good questions. So, Paramount Global controlling stakeholder Shari Redstone has increased the seriousness of the sale talks in recent months. Now, mind you, this was back on February 3rd. We'd already been hearing this. There were offers floating around. Paramount's global carriage deal with Charter was set to expire in April. That's still coming. And then you have to negotiate even more leverage for the carrier, the cable company, Charter, and many others to carry what you have to sell. And in turn, hopefully pay for that with ad revenue and ad rates. And the advertisement of media right now is suffering, as I'm sure you've probably noticed. But what came along with all of this was an interesting set of circumstances. It seems that she wants to sell for no other reason than she wants to do something different. They are essentially having a share, what would you say? Collapse. That's right, dropping 56% in the last 2 years. And you have interested buyers in the likes of David Ellison and, of course, media mogul Byron Allen. And you have a lot to sell. Television programs, along with all the wonderful networks that you own, although linear is taking a hit of late. So the Paramount board took some steps toward sale as Byron Allen submitted a $14 billion buyout bid all the way back in January of 2024, the 31st of this year. And it's interesting that this was being considered because it really wasn't much of an offer, because it's an acquisition of the outstanding shares plus the assumption of $15.6 billion in debt. You see, the company is actually worth more than that, but not with all that debt attached, at least not to Byron Allen. So today we arrive at a moment when somebody makes an outright offer for a piece, an important piece. Paramount Global saw their stock pop because Apollo Global reported an $11 billion bid for the studio, or at least reports came in to that effect. This happened just a few hours ago. It's breaking news, and it's quite interesting. Of course, anytime there's some kind of a purchase offer or a merger, there are going to be significant jumps in the market. And the $11 billion bid for the company's film and television studio caused just that. The private equity giant, Apollo Global, has been in and out of the mix as far as this goes. But of course, you have David Ellison and Byron Allen. Now, the stock jumped up over 11% to 1248 on much heavier than usual volume. And it's still half of where it was a year ago, and again, half again as much as that. It's been a takeover target for a long time. I've spoken here many times about the fact that I thought this would be something that Warner Brothers Discovery would jump on as a merger of equals, which really would have just meant it was basically Warner Brothers at the end of the day. And the Wall Street Journal cited people familiar with the situation, saying that the board is reviewing the Apollo offer. But selling off Paramount Studios for $11 billion leaves them with a huge problem, selling off the other pieces, because they may not be worth quite that much, and it still leaves you holding an awful lot of debt. So Deadline, which is where I'm getting this article, by the way, has heard that Ellison has fielded a bid for the whole company, but no details. And I imagine that's probably what Shari would likely do. There's been speculation that some industry sources say that Larry Ellison would never back a money-losing proposition such as Paramount. After all, Larry did clip the wings of Megan Ellison's Annapurna after it was bleeding to death. However, that's a hasty generalization, according to the article. The Oracle co-founder, we hear, is completely in step with David Ellison, and he's always been about a good deal in the end, and I understand that, truly. So Paramount's majority shareholder, which we've been talking about since we started the video, Shari Redstone, hasn't wanted to pluck out and sell studio stuff because it's the crown jewel, which makes a lot of sense. And Skydance Media has offered a deal through Paramount Global's parent, National Amusements, which is Redstone's family holding company, and that controls the media company, the majority of shares in that. In fact, the most voting shares are owned by Shari Redstone. So in this sense, she's the kingmaker. There are some minority shareholders involved who happen to include Warren Buffett and Mario Gabelli. They're antsy about not getting taken out of the premium in a deal, while Shari is. Allen's offer, for instance, calls for transactions at set prices for Paramount's voting and non-shareholders. That'd be interesting, non-voting shareholders. Bob Bakish is a terrible leader. I imagine he won't remain very long. But he has said that it will entertain all offers. Part of that's going to be a handy severance for that man. Meanwhile, it's retrenching, including a big round of layoffs recently. It's also divesting non-core assets, including the sale of Viacom 18 to India's Reliance Group for $517 million, which I talked about the other day. Similar to what, well, Disney has done recently, because everybody's getting out of India. So nobody decided to comment on the story, not that I would have expected it. But I find it rather interesting that this is happening now. It's rather telling. And I imagine we're getting very close to the end road because of that charter negotiation that's coming up this April. A lot of people have moved away from linear broadcast television, and there are many reasons for that. But the group of people that have the most money still watch television. The people who actually buy things, a lot of those in the best demographic available when it comes to watching or consuming any kind of media. And they still do it through cable, satellite, and over-the-air television. So all those linear properties are somewhat valuable. And while many of the older folks in a generation before me are able to handle the real tech around them more deftly now, I imagine that as they continue to age, they'll be less and less likely to consume it in a technological way. So, at least for a while, linear television will still be viable. The question is there a company out there that wants to take that on and then continue to grow streaming in a way that guarantees a future for all of these assets? I would say Larry Ellison, David Ellison, the Ellisons probably could do that rather easily. Pretty smart group of folks. But hey, what do you think? Do you think Shari's going to let go the crown jewel? Do you think she's going to let her company just be consumed in whole by somebody else? Do you think she'll sell off part of it and go with Apollo Global's $11 billion offer? Or do you think she's sizing up something larger that will help maintain her legacy so she can go off in pursuit of the charity that she holds dearest? And believe me, if you want to know what that is, you can find it rather easily. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments section below. And on that note, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya.